Welcome back to my channel. I am finally doing a sewing video. Isn't that exciting? This is a sewing video. I just said that, but I empathize. This is not a painting video. Isn't that great? Finally sewing. Some time ago, I found a satchel. Not a satchel, a shoulder bag. I found a shoulder bag. I despise backpacks, so I've been looking for a proper bag to go across my shoulder instead of, back. You know what a backpack is, so I don't have to explain. And I finally found one. It is perfect for what I need it for. I need it for travel. Again, I don't like backpacks, and suitcases are just so unhandy. So I finally found one. Been searching for, I want to say years, but it might just have been months. Time is a weird concept. There's just one small problem with this bag. It's a teeny tiny small problem. It has a brand on it, like an embroidered logo brand name, and I despise that. I could be not lazy and just make my own bag, but I am pretty lazy. So therefore I searched for a proper shoulder bag used as a travel bag. I don't have a plan or anything. I'm just gonna jump right in and do it. Enjoy. So the logo is embroidered, and I no longer have an embroidery machine, so that was my first thought, that I could just embroider something on it. It's not a thing anymore. Until I have saved enough money for me to actually go out and buy a beautiful embroidery machine myself. So I'm tracing some flower petals on some fabric, some scrap fabric, and just placing them around the back, completely random, trying to find some kind of cute pattern, pretending that the flower petals just fell down, and I want it to look as natural as possible around on the back. I don't know if it makes any sense. I was trying to be random, not trying to have a plan. I'm not good with not having a plan. And then because I want the petals to be a little bit more 3D, I mark them to sew them so they can be a little bit 3D. So I was just making as many petals as I could. It's so random, but I am so happy that I actually did it, because I ended up using every single one of them. Maybe because I didn't want to waste them. And again, this is just some scrap fabric that I had from a previous project. It's a small stitch, but when you have like 1,000 small flower petals, it takes a long time to sew them all. Because I don't like the backside of the fabric. I mean, it's the backside. No one wants to see that. No one needs to see the backside of fabric. Otherwise, there would not be a backside, right? So I take one petal and turn it around against another petal, and then I'm sewing those together. So it's kind of a 3D petal, pretty on both sizes. And I do a zigzag stitch because I thought it could be a little rough. Over time it will be, what's it called? It's gonna be rougher, like on jeans. It's the ruffiness. It has the same kind of texture, the fabric, except it has flowers on it. It's a flower petal print that I cut into flower petals, and they're so cute because it's a flower pattern shape. When I zigzag it, it's really hard to make them stay the same width, if that makes sense. But I don't mind that. It's kind of cute. It's unique, one might say. And then of course, when I had sewn all the petals together, I've kind of got the thought that I want something in the middle of each flower, and that's where my not small button collection comes in. I have not sorted my button collections. Once I tried to sort them, but then I gave up completely. That was pointless to do. I have so many buttons, and I don't know why I keep collecting them. I decided that I would just have the green buttons, and apparently I have a lot of green buttons. I don't know where half of all my buttons come from, but I know I have a lot of them, and I can't get myself to throw them away. I kind of like having a giant collection. So I pin the flat flower petals down. It's all the dark ones without any red in them. I kind of like that the background is kind of muted, and then the white and the red in the flower pattern of the petals are more the 3D. Now, I was very optimistic. I thought I could sew it on the machine, but I was gravely mistaken, because the machine doesn't bend that way, or the back doesn't bend that way. I don't bend that way. Nobody bends that way. So I had to sort to hand stitching. I got that crazy idea that every single thing should be a zigzag. So I do some very ugly stitching. But I'm okay with it being ugly because I kind of like the way that it looks handmade. It's not perfect, but it's also so unique that no one else has it. And I'm learning to love the flaws in my own art. Especially sewing. I have so many mistakes when I sew. The first row of stitching, I thought, oh my god, this is never gonna be pretty. But then when I did the actual stitching, so it looked like it was a zigzag stitch, it actually looks beautiful and wobbly. It took me a long time to stitch them on, longer than I wanted it to. Like just the background layer, it took me 2 movies. And of course, because I don't have any proper lighting in the couch, when I'm sitting there in the evening, I'm going stir crazy, kind of blindy. And wow, I wobble my head a lot when I sew. I look so serious when I'm watching a movie and trying to stitch something. And I was kind of cold, so I put my blanket around me. It's a lot, but it's fun sewing, and I really love stitching and hand sewing. So when I was finally done with the background petals, I could finally pin down the 3D petals, the pretty petals. And of course I had completely forgotten that I had made some reference photos to where I wanted the petals, so I just put them wherever, completely forgetting places I wanted some petals. And the funny part is, it's only that tiny corner there where the logo actually is, so I could have just sewn one flower on and then be done with it, but I had to go overboard. That's so silly. So not to make every single flower of them flat, I sew the bottom of the 3D flower petal and some of the top petal and the middle of the petal. So they would stay on, because I'm clumsy, I'm going into everything, but they would still be loose. And I'm only making a half stitch. I'm following the zigzag stitch that I made with the machine, but only one of the stitch. And that took me almost 2 hours more. I had sat myself down to sew this bag and watch all the movies on Netflix that were on my list. There were like 8 movies, and so far I have 2 movies, I think 3 movies left. It's a little tough for my back to sew like that. I wish I had been sitting on the floor actually. It's actually more comfortable sitting on the floor sewing than sitting on the couch. Also, me and the couch are not friends at the moment. We do not get along. So I finally finished sewing all the petals on, and then it was on to the buttons. And again, I forgot all my reference photos that I have taken before sewing anything on, and then I just willy-nilly started to sew on buttons wherever I saw fitted. It's okay now because it turned out so beautifully, and I really love the way it looks. But originally I wanted the star buttons to be the center of all the flowers, but I forgot that, so it became some of the stars and some of the round buttons. And I actually took a small button and a big button and laid on top of each other and sewed that in as one of the petals center, and that's kind of cute. It's making it very much 3D. I actually stopped myself. I have a small handful of buttons left from this project, and I like that I didn't go overboard. I looked at it and I was so tired and exhausted from sewing in hand. I am not good at sewing in hand. The bag is done now. Isn't it beautiful? Oh, I love it. I love how random it all is, and I love how the bag itself is neatly and simple, and there's no design brand name on it except for that tiny corner, and now even that is hidden. I love it. It's so cute. Okay, yeah, that was it. That's the video. Oh, I love you.